What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the NHA Thursday Strategy Show on Wednesday, of course, presented by No House Advantage. I'm Eric Lindquist. I'm going to be hosting this sucker, but we've got an analyst over there. He's a guy that I put in, I don't know, Malcolm Gladwell might say 10,000 hours is the number of hours. We've at least done 100 hours of shows together, so maybe we're 1/100th on the way to being masters of our craft, but he's had at least, 20, 30,000 hours talking DFS all over the internet, just torching the internet with Twitter, all of his takes at G Ehrenberg DFS. That's Greg Ehrenberg. How you doing, my dude?
Yeah, doing good. Also, we've got, a little hockey starting tonight. So I was building some hockey lineups before, which are you playing NHL DFS, Eric? I know you had some success with it the start of last year.
Hang on, there was a Freudian slip right in the middle of that one. I did. Oh man. Yes, I have had some sex and I have had some success with the old NHL DFS. It's a lot of fun.
I don't believe you.
Okay. Yeah, no, it was good. It was unfortunate. So I was kind of expecting to run it back. I took down FanDuel last year on opening night. I did not take it down yesterday. I believe I donated would be the right way of putting it. But I'm on the PGA live before lock show, and that'll run right up to the NHL lock. So I'm really hoping that 4:00 game out here on the West Coast, 7:00 on the East Coast. I don't even know who the two teams are they're playing, but I'm hoping it doesn't go off and I'll just build with the other 5 games later. But you're playing, of course. Yes.
Yeah, I don't play a whole bunch of NHL DFS, but I do in the times when it's the start of the season before basketball starts, and usually during basketball All-Star break. So I'm also excited for hockey DFS, and also we've got Jake Hari doing some videos on the channel every once in a while. There's hockey content coming up, so you guys should be liking this video, subscribing to the YouTube channel because we got hockey stuff, and then of course basketball coming soon as well.
And Crosscheck is the active promotion we have for that. If you go to the checkout. Crosscheck, CROSSCHECK. I don't know why I couldn't think of check at the end there, but use that promo. It's active for 5 more days. That's $3 for an NHL weekly pass. So definitely be checking that out as well. So well done with the segue there. But we are here, of course, to talk about NHA, their Thursday night football contest they have. It's $5,000. It is 2K to first. We are going to be talking about all their props and all of their game types over there. But if you haven't had a chance to play over there yet, it is fantastic. It's 100% peer-to-peer, just like you're playing on these other DFS sites, but they have much more winnable contests. Definitely things where they're going to just help you out to be able to get into the game too. With that promo code Awesemo, it's $25 deposit bonus. Definitely be utilizing that. Beat your friends, not the house. That's the NHA way. We're going to go through some projections. We're going to talk about the game, but first, looking at the board for this game, of course, Eagles, Bucks are on the road here at least. That's keeping this line a little bit in check. It's at 7.5, a couple of different spots. It's minus 307 if you want to get some of that Buccaneers money line. Best of luck with you there, getting any value out of that. But what are you kind of expecting out of this game? 52.5 total.
I think we should be. Well, it's kind of hard to say. I think there's so much added variance to Thursday night games, where we've seen a lot of games that just don't play up kind of how we think they would. Last week, we had the Rams and Seahawks game, which I think we all thought, it's going to be a shootout. It's going to be really high scoring. And, Russell Wilson getting hurt certainly impacted the game, Geno Smith coming in. But the Seahawks offense was actually more effective with Geno Smith at quarterback than it was with Russell Wilson. And that game was pretty underwhelming relative to what our expectations were. So at least on paper, this should be a pretty high scoring game. I think the Eagles are going to have a really difficult time slowing down the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense. But at the same time, too, Jalen Hurts himself has been a high variance quarterback this year. He looks really good at times, and other times he looks kind of terrible. So I think the Eagles fairly high variance offense, and you also add in the fact this is the short week on Thursday. We already see some weird things happen from time to time. So this should be a high scoring game where I expect the Bucs to win by 7 to 10 points. But Thursday night, who knows?
Thursday night, who knows? I do like that analysis. I don't know that I always think about it that way. I think about it when a running back gets a ton of work on Sunday and then we just expect them to get a ton of work on Thursday. But I do like that analysis. I think that makes some sense. But starting with the quarterback position, what will also make some sense is utilizing some of the lines that you have at sports books to help you, because these props are static. They do not change from the time that they open here. And Tom Brady, 310.5 passing yards. That is a gigantic number that we're looking at for him here. But it seems as though we're projecting him for a little less. And I think sports books have him for a little bit less as well. What do you think about that 310.5 number for him?
Yeah, slightly lean towards the under. The other thing to consider also is if you do look at this game, if it does play out to what the spread is and that expected game script, then we're expecting the Buccaneers to be up 7-10 points or so in the fourth quarter and not necessarily have to throw the ball a ton. So if that is how the game script plays out, we could see a lot of Leonard Fournette in the fourth quarter. Maybe that cuts into Tom Brady's passing totals a little bit. I don't have a strong lean towards the under, but if I had to pick a side, it certainly would be the under. Like you said, sports books have the total set lower. Our current projections have them for 300.2 passing yards. So I think the under is the more preferred option there, but it's not like something I'm looking at and saying like, oh, this is the lock of all locks.
I agree with you. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm looking just around at a number of spots, 301, 301 and a half. It's just kind of like sitting all around that. So slight lean on the under here as well. Coming off of a 400 plus yard, 5 touchdown outing for Tom Brady. Kind of feels weird to be taking any under, but it's a road game. We've seen these Thursday night games and all of these primetime games just have some insane game scripts for the better, for the worse, but they've all been pretty entertaining this season. It looks like the 2.5 that we're looking at for Tom Brady passing touchdowns is pretty efficient as well. Minus 125. Once again, you should be utilizing some of these numbers that you can just look up at your sports book to be like, this looks advantageous or this doesn't. And it kind of makes sense. And as far as interceptions, I mean, Tom Brady's definitely on the lower atmosphere, although he is throwing the ball an absolute ton. Tampa Bay, looking at the advanced stats tool that we have for adjusted rush percentage, 5th highest passing rate here in the NFL so far this season. I see that being something going forward, but is there anything else from Tom Brady that you feel like is a preferred route over the passing yards prop?
No, and it's even that it's pretty hard for me to look at the interceptions too seriously. He has not thrown an interception since week 1 against the Dallas Cowboys. So he's gone 4 games in a row without throwing an interception. You look at last year, 12 interceptions thrown by Tom Brady. So he's probably a little more likely to not throw an interception than he is to throw an interception. So once again, that is something that last year. Yeah, that's right. 12 interceptions last year. So it's not something that I have a huge lean on that one either. So I think overall the best looking play on Brady is probably either under 2.5 touchdowns or under the 310 passing yards. I view both of them as about equal value. But once again, nothing that I view as being like a really high point play. This would be like a maybe 1, 2, 3 pointer.
So now let's jump over to Jalen Hurts. So we covered Tom Brady pretty in depth, but I don't know. He's probably my least favorite player to target on all of NHA today, which is so ironic. But considering he'll get some attention because it is Tom Brady, even out of the 300 entries that'll be in that contest, I bet he'll be a part of it in the 7-1 spot in some capacity. So maybe a stay away for me might be the right route. But Jalen Hurts on the other side, there are some really good looking props. I'm going to ask you what your favorite is. 240.5 passing yards, 1.5 passing touchdowns, 0.5 interceptions. Pick one.
All right. So we've got 240.5. You said 240.5 passing
yards? 240.5.
All right. Well, I mean, the over for that is pretty clearly the right number from a couple of standpoints. Number one, this game script calls for the Eagles to have to throw the ball a ton. Number two, also, I kind of thought coming into the year that we were going to see Jalen Hurts somewhat limited in the amount of times that he was going to be asked to throw the ball each game. Kind of almost like what we've seen in the past from Lamar Jackson. Although Lamar Jackson obviously has thrown the ball a ton lately and did certainly the other day as well. But Jalen Hurts passing attempts per game, they've been fairly high when it's been necessary. So games this year, 35, 23, 39, 48, 37 pass attempts for Jalen Hurts. There's no reason to think this isn't going to be another game where you can have to throw the ball 35 to 40 times. And he's also been probably a little bit more effective as a passer than we would have thought coming into the season, a little bit less effective as a runner. So, I mean, that passing yards in the over, that's probably the strongest prop I feel on the entire slate.
Yeah, I would agree. It's a gigantic gap. And that's not to say 1.5 passing touchdowns isn't good too. Jalen Hurts, the over on 1.5 here is minus 165. And a lot of that, and we'll talk about it at the running back position with Miles Sanders, is because it is next to impossible to run the football on this Tampa Bay team. So Jalen Hurts, all around great play, but I definitely think that passing yards prop, I am in alignment with you. I think that really sticks out. Let's jump over to Miles Sanders because this is really going to be a difficult spot here for Philadelphia. Every team is having an impossible time running it on this Tampa Bay team, by far number one in the NFL in terms of just pure rushing numbers here, rushing yards, rushing touchdowns. It is absurd. It's kind of next level stuff, but Miles Sanders, 50.5 rushing yards here for him, 0.5 rushing touchdowns. I don't know. I like less on the 0.5 rushing touchdowns more than that number. How about yourself?
Well, do you know how many rushing touchdowns he has so far this year?
I'm guessing 0 based on the way you've set that up.
It is he also has 0 receiving touchdowns, 0 rushing touchdowns, 0 receiving touchdowns. And this doesn't set up as a game that he's going to be able to run the ball a ton for a couple of reasons. Like you said, number one, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, great run defense. Number two, we've talked about the game script in this game. I think we're going to be seeing the Eagles have to throw the ball a lot more than run the ball. As is, it's been, pretty difficult to gauge how much Miles Sanders is going to be rushing the ball in any given game. The last 3 games, he has a total of 20 rush attempts. So it's not like he's been a workhorse on the ground. It's 11, 7, 2 in the last 3 games. In that game against the Cowboys, they lost by 20 points. He only carried the ball 2 times for 27 yards, and Kenneth Gainwell ended up being on the field more than normal. So I think this could be a spot where we see Gainwell play a little more snaps than normal, Miles Sanders potentially playing less, just because more of those passing situations are likely to be set up. So, it's more likely to be passing situations than running situations. So to me, I think the unders across the board make sense for Miles Sanders, but I definitely feel the best about the under on the touchdowns one, which then kind of makes me not care as much about the under for the rushing yards.
So something's up with our projections. I'm looking at the rushing totals here. We have Ronald Jones for 64 rushing yards coming off of, I don't know. He's been in the doghouse the entire season. He has not seen over 6 total rushing attempts. We have him for 64. I feel like that's kind of freaky to me. I got to say, no question about it. But on NHA, 30.5 is his rushing total. Leonard Fournette, 55.5 rushing yards. Neither of them have any other prop attached to them other than those. So 55.5 rushing yards for Fournette, 30.5 for Ronald Jones. Which one do you prefer to target?
Certainly the over on Leonard Fournette, and also something to reference to. And, it's still Wednesday. I assume our projections will be updated by the time that tomorrow rolls around. But it looks like we currently have Ronald Jones projected as if he's going to be the starting running back. We have him picking up more carries tomorrow than Leonard Fournette. And that is Ronald Jones at 11.5 carries tomorrow as the current projections show. But Leonard Fournette so far this year, his attempts per game have been very consistent. 4, 6, 5, 6, 5. If you ask me how many carries is Ronald Jones going to have, the answer I think is pretty clear from a projection standpoint right now, 5 or 6, unless something changes right now. So I'm going to have to disagree with what we currently have in terms of our projections for Ronald Jones. Not that it means that I like the under for him because that number is really low, but it does make me like the over on Leonard Fournette, because I think that more of the carries that we currently have projected to go to Ronald Jones are going to go to Fournette.
I'll say it. I like the under. Not a ton, but I mean, you got to play 7 players. I think he kind of is down towards the number 1 or 2 confidence spots. So you put your plays into the lineup 7 through 1. We got producer Tyler behind the screen helping us all out there. But 7 through 1, number 7, you get 7 points if you get that one correct. 6 points for getting number 6 correct, so on and so forth. We're trying to get a clean sweep where we get all 7 right. But the ones that you are the least confident in on the board, you're going to put down in that one spot. I think that there is something to be said about Ronald Jones at least making the cut as one of the best 7 plays that we have on the board. All right. Before we get over to the wide receiver position, I had talked about cross-check there for a hot second, but use that NHL DFS for $3. It's all caps, one word, cross-check. It gets you 75% off, 75% off your first week of Awesemo Plus NHL. Jake Ari, he's doing so much good stuff there behind the paywall for us, projections and doing shows. And all those guys are so sharp. I barely know anything about NHL, and I'm able to be profitable in it because of our team. Top Stacks, Lineup Builder, Premium Slack, the best tools to help you make lineups immediately. You don't have to know all that much about hockey. If you're looking for something to do leading up into NBA, just like I am, check out this offer we have going. That's cross-check for $3 off your first weekly pass. All righty. Let's jump on over to the wide receiver position, and then we'll jump tight ends, and we'll get ourselves on out of here. But let's just start with the road team, because Tampa Bay, I don't know if you know this, but Tom Brady's been pretty good this year, and it seems like they're going to throw the ball a little bit. So hashtag analysis there. I'm looking at Antonio Brown, who came off of a massive game here, 60.5 receiving yards, 4.5 receptions for him. Chris Godwin, 70.5, 5.5 receptions for him. And to round it out here at the wide receiver position, where is he? Mike Evans. There we go. 75.5 receiving yards and 5.5. Yeah. I mean, these are just ridiculous numbers. Which one of those 3 players are you going to be looking to target the most?
Probably the under for Mike Evans. It's really hard to know on any given week what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers passing attack is going to look like. Maybe a little simplified now that we don't have Gronkowski in the mix, at least for I think one or two more games. But at least as we look at it right now, there's still Chris Godwin, there's still Mike Evans, there's still Antonio Brown. And we've seen it a lot this year where at any given week, it could be one or two of them. Somebody gets left out of the game script a little bit. You know, Mike Evans to open the year, he had a really slow start. Chris Godwin was really big in week one. Last week, Mike Evans and Antonio Brown had the big games. The way I generally think it makes sense to look at these props is you kind of just want to fade whoever's the highest total player and the one who went off last week, because I just think the lines are always going to be reactionary. It's like, oh, look, Antonio Brown had a big game. He's projected to be the leading receiver next week. And then it's like, oh, Mike Evans, he had a big fourth quarter last week. So now he's the guy who's projected for 75.5 receiving yards. We currently in our projections have them pretty similar. We have Godwin project for 66.5, Mike Evans 65.5, Antonio Brown 61.7, which I think is a fair way to look at it. I think it's going to be a pretty balanced passing attack. So considering that Mike Evans is in the mid 70s and we've been projecting about 10 yards lower than that, I'll feel best about going towards the under on him and then slight leans towards the overs on Antonio Brown and Chris Godwin.
All right. And then from the Eagles side here, jumping over there, where did it go? Here it is. Looking at the guy, the only guy it looks like on the board here, Devonta Smith, 60.5 receiving yards, 4.5 receptions. The only wide receiver we have there. How do those two look to you?
Yeah, I like the over for receiving yards. First of all, Smith has looked really, really good in his rookie year. He had a historical season last year in college, and there were some concerns coming into the year, you know, just how would he play in the NFL from the standpoint of he's very tiny, both in terms of in terms of build, he's really slight, but he's also really skinny. You just wonder, like, all right, how is he gonna hold up to the physicality of the NFL? He's listed at 6 feet tall and I think 165 pounds. And then you look at Devonta Smith so far this year, hasn't really been an issue. He has 25 receptions for 314 yards to this point. Also, we've seen his volume uptick overall in the last 2 weeks, where last two games, 10 targets and 8 targets, caught 7 passes in each of them, nearly 200 receiving yards. So I look at those kind of numbers for Devonta Smith and see that not only has he had some success this year, but his receptions and his targets are trending up. And then we also consider this is a game where we think this is going to set up as a game script for the Eagles to have to pass a lot. So if we're going to take the over for Jalen Hurts receiving yards, and we both feel really good about that, it makes sense we're going to like some of the overs for receivers, but he's the only receiver we have to choose from. So therefore we take the over there.
I really like it too. And Antoine Winfield Jr. is going to be out with a concussion in this game. I think this safety, I mean, we already see a Tampa Bay team that is looking to Richard Sherman, picking him off the street here. Dusty as he is at the moment. Maybe he can give him something here, but that secondary is kind of in shambles for the level of what Tampa Bay, they're going to outscore people. So that's a plus, but having Winfield Jr. out of there at safety, that is going to be a helpful thing for just about all the receiving production if Jalen Hurts is going to be pushing it down the field. So I really like the over there too. I think Devonta Smith is probably going to be my favorite piece for DFS purposes. Somebody that I'm just kind of relying on to try to get different. And for sure on NHA, I think that he really sticks out as well. Let's talk tight end because there's no Rob Gronkowski. Cameron Brate is out there. And then we'll get to the Philly side to round it out. But Cameron Brate is listed with 35.5 receiving yards, 3.5 receptions. Both of those seem pretty big to me. Do you agree?
The 3.5 receptions is a really big number for Cameron Brate. And it's still a situation with OJ Howard where I still think OJ Howard could get into the mix for them. And so you look at that and it's kind of like Cameron Brate is already priced as if he is the guy at tight end for them. And you look at his overall workload this year, 1 reception, 2 receptions, 4 receptions, 1 reception. So last game without Gronkowski in the mix, 1 target, 1 catch for 12 yards. And then 2 weeks ago where Gronk got hurt in the middle of the game, he still only ended up catching 2 passes for 29 yards. So I think the under on Cameron Brate for receptions, that's the way to go there.
All right. And then we've got Zach Ertz that's sitting here. So we have no Dallas Goedert. He's going to be out. He's got COVID-19. He's asymptomatic. I don't think he's going to be able to rejoin the team in time for this game tomorrow. He needs to get back-to-back negative tests over a 24-hour period. I don't think that that's going to be enough considering he tested positive yesterday. They're not going to let him on the field. So 40.5 receiving yards for him. We don't even have to look at 35.5 receiving yards for Zach Ertz and 3.5 receptions. What do you think about those props, considering really Jalen Reagor's been disappointing? You only have Miles Sanders and Devonta Smith on the offensive side who can do anything there, but Zach Ertz, 35.5 receiving yards, 3.5 receptions.
It's so close to what we have projected for him, but I mean, we kind of get to a point where we have to make some pick somewhere because there's only so many players to choose from, and we still have to make, enough choices to fill out the lineup. So, I mean, Zach Ertz overall data this year, he's actually been targeted a bunch in the passing game. He just sucked. He hasn't done anything with the targets, but still, I mean, look at the last 3 games: 7 targets, 8 targets, 6 targets. Now he's turned that into a total of about 120 yards, those 21 targets he's gotten. But it's kind of nice to see how often Jalen Hurts is looking his way. And then you also consider that Dallas Goedert isn't going to be in the mix. I'm going to lean towards the overs here with Zach Ertz. Once again, not massively confident. It's a low points play, like a 1, 2, or 3-pointer. But I think there's a couple of things to think about here. First, the targets that we mentioned, Dallas Goedert being out, and then also it correlates with us already liking the overs for Jalen Hurts. So give me the over on the passing, on the receiving yards for Hurts. I think that's what I feel a little bit better about.
Yeah, so awesome, sitting there in the chat. What's up, my dude? No running game, no Goddard. Should be playing from behind. Give me all the Ertz overs. I think that's probably an all right way of looking at it.
Yeah, no, that's definitely how I'm seeing it. And then also just the fact that if we are going to like Jalen Hurts overs, like I said before, then it just correlates, right? If it's into the lineups that we're already looking to make, we're trying to get lineups that are playing favorably towards the Eagles passing game in a game where they're likely to be down by 7, 10 points or something like that in the fourth quarter, playing from behind, have to throw the ball. So I like the slight bit of positive correlation to get there.
So I'm looking at this board right now that we have that Tyler put together this lineup. We've got Jalen Hurts with the over on his passing yards, Miles Sanders under on the 0.5 rushing touchdowns, over on Leonard Fournette, 55.5 rushing yards, Mike Evans, so on and so forth. Looking at that board, is there one prop, considering we've gone through absolutely every player? These are the 7, I think, that stuck out to us the most. Is there one that we would want to put up at the 7 confidence point slot that is currently not there?
No, I think the one for the 7-point slot is Jalen Hurts for his over passing. Okay. I feel really good about that.
Yeah, I think I do as well. And then Miles Sanders, I like the under on rushing touchdowns, considering Tampa Bay does not give up anything on the ground. I mean, it would pretty much be a goal line or bust kind of situation there. Leonard Fournette, 55.5. That might be the one that I would want to move down a little bit further on the board and move Zach Ertz up off of the 1. But is there anything else that you would kind of rearrange in that lineup?
Not really. I think I might feel a little bit better about the Leonard Fournette over than you, just kind of based on what the expected game script is. And the other thing to consider also about Fournette is, he ran the ball really well last week, and there just wasn't a need to use him much in the fourth quarter because that was not a competitive game at all. But it does seem like there's more of a lean toward Leonard Fournette in that offense right now for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And so last week, 12 carries. But like I said, even though on paper it's a favorable game script for running back because they won 45-17, it was such a blowout that it became a negative game script because they just didn't need him on the field in the fourth quarter. But you go back 2 weeks ago in a more competitive game against the Patriots that the Buccaneers ended up winning, he carried the ball 20 times for 92 yards in that game. So I don't think the 20 carries or 18 is out of the question for Leonard Fournette. And if you give him those carries, he hits the over pretty comfortably. Yeah, and even more importantly, he played 82% of the snaps there. He's going to be on the field an absolute ton. This Eagles team as well has failed the entire season through 5 weeks to not give up over 100 yards of rushing. So I don't know. I think that you're definitely correct about that. And I was wrong. 82% of snaps, over 100 yards. Math tells me that that's a really good chance for over 60 yards. So that looks like something that I might even elevate over the Miles Sanders in the 6-point confidence slot. But that looks like a pretty great lineup to me. That would be something that I would be happy playing in that $5,000 Thursday Night Football Showdown contest, 2K to first. Definitely be utilizing that with promo code Awesemo and check it out. But I think that's going to do it for the show here today for the NHA show. Greg, any final words for the people on the way out? No, just good luck with the contest tomorrow. One thing that keeps tripping me up about football shows is that they're never generally not the days we do them. So I'm always like, hey, good luck tomorrow, not tonight. But yeah, make sure use that promo code Awesemo and make your first deposit over at No House Advantage. I'll see you in the NHL streets tonight. Looking forward to it as well. Check out that promo code Crosscheck. We had talked about that before, but definitely be checking out NHA
Promo code Awesemo gets you that $25 first. Thank you so much to Tyler behind the glass. Producer Tyler, taking care of us, building lineups here on stream. He's Greg Ehrenberg. I'm Eric Lindquist. We'll catch you later. Best of luck in all of the DFS things you do.